First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha, Rekah Kodash, Mama. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders. Double honors to my elders as well, Ahurawan, Banyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Atwafium, and children that believe in truth and sincerity. This brother, I thank you all back to another lesson. And Yahweh's desire is edifying. It's a quick lesson. All right, I wanted to go into this. It was they were ranting and raving about a food truck park. All right, which rightfully so. All right, because Jake deserved to be able to make his daily bread. And you know how Esau moves the goalposts. All right, he comes in the inner city establishments and marks up the you know violations, stuff like that, for you to for it to be hard for you to even stay afloat. Right. Ultimately, that's what the whole plan in it was about as well, trying to get take away the middle class, small businesses, so it can just be these corporations out here. All right. Ultimately, as we go into the fourth industrial revolution, the NWO, New World Order, right? So they really don't want these things to be established, especially Jake being a part of it. The gentrifying of the city here in Jacksonville, Florida, um, with the Coliseum and all that stuff like that, being this is revamped Rome, having the number one draft pick and all that stuff like that. Um, whether he's a heathen or not, the owner of the Jaguars, trying to the money he's pouring into the city ultimately is going to gentrify it. More than likely, he's a heathen. All right. Um, but again, Jake should be mad and protest for the Lord this way. All right. But we know 2/3 of our people suffer Stockholm syndrome. All right. But you can read the title. It says, "Hey, but we are the last one hired and the first one fired here." You know. So everything is a lose lose, man. Your jobs, your businesses, everything is going back to the elements here in this realm, man. That's why Ecclesiastes 7 speaks on everything under the sun is vanity of vanities, man. It's all gonna come to naught. Because this place, this system, this devil's system, Esau's system, his kingdom, has to be destroyed, man. The Lord is not gonna allow his people to be slaves forever. All right. We've been slaves long enough. All right. And we only been that because we always be full. All right. Full. The Lord of get us full and Jacob wax and kick. All right. But in this time, this last captivity, all Israel is not going to be saved. All right. He's only going to take those who are yearning for a new heaven and a new earth. All right. Who's eating prophets food. All right. The spiritual food, the spiritual manna. All right. Preparing themselves spiritually. All right. Building up that spiritual bank account, that spiritual nourishment foundation to sustain themselves in the evil times that we're approaching. As you read the title, it says, owner of popular Jacksonville food truck park on north side opts to stay open after outcry from community. All right. A popular food truck in North Jacksonville that was set to shut down on Friday will now remain open, the owner told News for Jacks. Trout River Food Truck, parked on Lem Turner Road, has served not just meals, but a community in an area with few fresh food options. Right, because in Jake, you can barely get a down. You're not going to get a Polo Tropical. You're not going to get these things. All right. You're not going to get real food. You're going to get, I'm not even going to promote them. We already know what it is. You're going to get the Golden Arch. You're going to get the, the King guy, which that's probably your better option out of all of the rest of them. Some soy meat. It might be some, whatever. But it says but the owner said last week that after years of code violations, right, he was ready to shut it all down, right? You know, again, moving the goalposts, putting more violations than the man even probably make as far as income. This was my pride and joy, owner of popular Jacksonville food truck park announced its closure after code violation. Then came an outpouring from the community with hundreds of people reaching out. Park owner Robert Germano said the community reactions and a series of meetings, right? And I don't really sound Jakeish, but you could be Jake. All right, because the Lord heritage is of a speckled bird. We've been scattered through all four corners of the earth. So we have the Lord's people even thinking that they're something that they're not, thinking they're another nation. All right, but if you bear witness to this truth, this word, have a form of understanding of the oppression that you've been dealt, the cards you've been dealt, you've been through oppression, you've been through the curses. You rightly, very well may be an Israelite. All right, especially if they're oppressing you like that. All right, or they're trying to get you to sell it. All right, and sell out the people that you are in partnership with in the community that you so-called support. But to continue on, it says the park owner said the community action in a series of meetings over the last several days convinced him to change his mind and keep the park running. All right, like 60,000. All right, or in damn fines. One of the first scriptures I want to get. You can go and start a whole nother business, a couple of them, and have some momentum. This is Matthew chapter 4 and verse 4. All right. That's why people can't be yearning for the physical food as much, but they better be yearning for this profit food. It's Matthew chapter 4 and verse 4. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Right. All right. So you're not going to just live off physical bread or physical eating. All right. But you're going to have to live off the words of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, which is food as well. All right. This is the book of St. John, chapter 6. It's the book of Saint John, chapter 6 and verse 31. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert. As it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat. Right. Then Yahweh Shah said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. Right. And we think of the time of Moses in the first Egypt, everybody was saved. But in the second Egypt, all right, according to Revelations 11, verse 8, this is spiritually Egypt and Sodom, America, right? The second Egypt, all Israel is not going to be saved out of this destruction, all right? It's only those who've been eaten and been nourished, all right, through the prophet's food, and ultimately whose name is written, okay? But it's back in verse 32. Then Yahweh Shah said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Yahweh is he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world, right? All right. And that world is speaking on the cosmos. Like in John 3:16, it's speaking on the cosmos, meaning a particular arrangement, a group of people. Not the world in an oikumene sense, meaning the actual earth, the embodiment of people. All right. You have the sports world, you have the fashion world, and even dealing to this topic, you have the culinary arts world, and dealing with food, things of that nature. Chef Ramsay, stuff like that, right? So there's many worlds. All right. War of Worlds. This is Avengers or something. But it says verse 34. Then they said, then said they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. Right. I want to eat that. Some boat chop. You know how Jake is. And Yahweh Shah said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. Right. All right. So he the water. He the bread. All right. You eat up that profit food, you're going to be sufficient in that day when true famine hit, when physical famine hit, where there's actually no food. You know, the Lord will send a raven like he did Elijah. The Lord might translate a brother like he did Habakkuk with a plate of food for Daniel in the lion's den. And Daniel was in the lion's den twice. But it says here in verse 36, but I said unto you that ye also have seen me and believe not. Right, like 2/3 of our people, man, they don't believe. They suffer Stockholm syndrome, right? All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out. Right, his sheep follow his voice. All right. For I am come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will, which have sent me, that of all which he hath given me, I shall lose nothing, but shall raise it up again at the last day. Right. John 17, man. You know, his sheep hear his voice. You know, the Lord will have 100 sheep, and he's a one flare off. He's gonna leave that 99 and go get that one. Okay. Because he's determined, has a job to do. All right. He's determined to fulfill his will, and he's gonna fulfill it. All right, it's being fulfilled as we speak. But this is back in the book of St. John, chapter 6 and verse 40. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Right. The Jews then murmured, right, because that's who he was speaking to, because that's the world he's been sent to. All right. The 12 tribes of Israel, starting with Judah, Benjamin, Levi on down, Ephraim, Naphtali, so on and so forth, right? Manasseh, Issachar, right? Asher, Zebulon, you know, so on and so forth, all right? I don't know what's going on with the phone, all right? But he's sent to the Jews, man. He's sent to his own people, but as the scriptures say, he was sent to his own, and his own knew him not, all right? And that's ultimately why 2/3 of them have to be done away with on this side and have to be born back into the kingdom as a newborn babe through the loins of the elect, all right, because they're too far gone. They suffer Stockholm syndrome. They've been here so much. You know, the scriptures say, what surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Right. Our people, 2/3 of our people suffer Stockholm syndrome. They've been here in captivity so long that they just join the devil. You know, hey, we can't beat them. Let's join them, because they don't believe in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. They don't believe that the Lord is ultimately going to come and fulfill his will. All right. Do his due justice. All right. Because they're not of the elect. All right. They probably denied the Lord when he came on the scene in the ancient times. So they ultimately have the spirit to deny the Lord now. All right. To ultimately be given the portion of the unbelievers. Okay. But surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, not mad as in angry, but that mad right there, when you go into the etymology, it means foolish. And our people are foolish, to where it's like, I can't beat them, let's join them. To where they beg to be a part of this society. They beg to be the slave. It's the book of St. Luke, chapter 6 and verse 25. It's the book of Luke, chapter 6 and verse 25. Bear with me. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. Right. You know, so you don't want to be so full of the worldly way, the worldly riches, or just the world philosophies in the way of this world itself. You don't want to be full of that and have nothing spiritual about you, especially being an Israelite. All right. Most importantly, being an Israelite. You don't want to be embedded and full of the knowledge and wisdom of society, Esau society, the world, all right, which ultimately is going to come to naught, all right. The food, the GMO foods, versus the food that's going to sustain you for everlasting life, man, which is the word, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. All right, the Urim and the Thummim. Right, you know, Jake, 2/3 of our people, they forget that that we're under the curses. Yeah, Deuteronomy 30:7 saying that what the curses that we're upon is ultimately going to be upon the heathen, and we seeing that and witnessing that being done. All right, because we're at the end, but we're still in captivity. All right, this is not your rest. Micah 2:10. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness. Right, that's Jake. 2/3 of our people, they don't want to serve the Lord with joyfulness. So guess what? The Lord add more plagues to them, more judgment to them, more persecution, more oppression, even though they think that they're in a good case. The Lord is ultimately rocking them to sleep. It's not pleasant to not have the Lord deal with you and then you're in a worldly way, you're living it up, living lavishly, all happy go lucky, like 2/3 of our people is. And then when judgment day come, you're the bum. That's what 2/3 of our people are gonna feel in that day. Lord willing, we're not a part of that number, right? You know, because what we ran into the house of mourning, man. You know, so when that day comes, that day of tribulation and trials, man, we should be rejoiceful because we know the Lord go come through. He go show his power through us, right? You'll be like, dang, how they got this over there? And they go wonder because when there's not gonna be no way, he's gonna make a way for the elect's sake. That's why you want to eat up this prophet's food, this manna, this spiritual manna. But it's back in Deuteronomy 28 and 47, because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, right? Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, right? And in thirst, right? And in nakedness, right? Even for clothes, right? You got to go to get the Arab. That's almost it still ain't lawful, but it's almost lawful. But you got to go to the Arab for the Arab shirt, right? Can't even get a white tee, a plain white tee, a plain black tee, or plain white tee from you can't make that. And we were the cotton pickers, right? Ain't that some shit, some s ain't what the irony? You got to go to the store and get vegetables, vegetables, fruits, you know, posts, things like that. When that stuff grows out, the Lord gave us that for free. That's because Esau's ruling, and Jake want to continue and help uplift this place, uplift Esau. So is Northern Kingdom, man. They got to get rebuked too, because they be the main ones. They come over here and they try to keep this place afloat. And it's like we've been over here 500 plus years, man. This shit is over with, and it's running this last leg through Northern Kingdom. Really, they running through them real quick. This is back in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. And I'll start from the top again. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And that's what he did. And it shows that 2/3 of our people are destroyed because they still cry for the want to be a part of this society and this system. You can't even have a park to yourself. You hear me? Not to mention so-called Black Wall Street. They bombed that. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 31 and verse 1. It's a damn shame, man. And Jake still go try to build. Look at Dr. Umar with he finally getting his school 10 years later, He's still asking for money. This Deuteronomy, this Isaiah 31 and 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, right? And stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong, right? You know, you look at the infrastructure of Esau's kingdom, 2/3 of our people look at that and they believe in it. And they think that it's never going to be done away with. But little do they know, right? And in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord, right? Because they only see what's for face value, what's in front of them. They show me niggas. This is Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 21. Hear now this, O foolish people, and without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. Fear ye not me, saith the Lord? Right. You don't fear the Lord? Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for the bounds of the sea, by a perpetual decree, that it cannot pass it? And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail. Right? Who can explain that? Man can try to explain it, but that's something you can't even explain. You know what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like I elders say, that's a God answer. But you ain't scared of that person who can separate the waters from the sands of the sea, who can control the waves. You know, roughly paraphrasing, that's what it's saying in layman terms. You got to talk to Jake like, for them to understand. But we understand, but they don't fear that. 2/3 of our people really don't fear that. All right, because they're smite with madness. All right, they're being rocked to sleep. All right, for that judgment day. All right. It says, though they roar, yet can they not pass over it. But this people have a revolting and rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. Neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord our God that giveth rain, both the former and the latter in his season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks to the harvest, man, of the harvest, Salakia. They don't think about the latter end, right? Again, they only see things for face value. Um, they show me Jake's Israelites, all right? They're not even Israelites on this side, even though they are by lineage. They technically are, right? But spiritually, they're gone. They're heathens. This Proverbs 22 and 16. He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. Right. So he who oppressed the poor, Esau, he's gonna come to want. All right. That's why he's trying to close it down, man. It's gonna be closed down eventually. That's gonna be a little camping spot or something. Because this place is getting ready to be done away with. Like actual famine is coming to this place. It's prophesied. And it says what? He that giveth to the rich, right? The rich keep getting richer. You aiding the bed and Esau, keeping him afloat. That's what 2/3 of our people do. Spiritually, they give to the rich. They give their spirituality, they give their worship, they give their services, you know. Good old boys. But the Lord is displeased with it. And there's a judgment for it. All right. And that's why, ultimately our people have to suffer this proper provender, this prophet food, right? The Urim and the Thummim, all right? The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Lord. All right. But hey, in that day, if they don't, all right, they're gonna be in want. All right, they're gonna be starving, physically and spiritually, and there's not gonna be any cloak for their sins. I got one more. I'll wrap it up. All right, it's the book of Ecclesiastes, I think we got Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. This is Ecclesiastes 7, and I'll start at verse 2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, right? It's not just a actual eating, but just feasting off of the philosophies of this place, the way of life of this place. It is not for our people. All right. So again, it's back in Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Right. Go consider it. All right. That's all I got on that. Shalom, Habatah, and DTA. To the next.